Think about if you got signed to AEW or WWE. You're going to be featured on international TV and your life will change overnight. This is why if all of a sudden you vanish into the abyss, things have become very, very strange. So let's go detective and try and find these folk, because I am Simon from What Culture. Please hit that subscribe button. And this is 9 wrestlers who vanished off the face of the earth. Number 9, Sylvester LEFORT. Old Sly here once managed Rusev. He also feuded with him and was front and center when the Bulgarian Brute joined forces with Lana, and was even on NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way. During that show, he even lost a hair versus hair match versus Enze Amore, so that's right. He did quite a lot within WWE's third brand, and then poof, he was just gone. He did have a story too where he went nuts one day, but for some reason he just wasn't used anymore. He had a quick cup of coffee as Billy Kay's manager in 2015, but a year later he had been released. As was the way, LEFORT jumped over to TNA for a while as Basil Baraka, but not much happened there, and ever since we haven't heard much. Sylvester is still skipping away on the indie scene and had a decent match with Ultimo Dragon and Tajiri in July 2022, but given how much he was featured in 2014, this was quite the crazy turnaround. Number 8, Haid Vanson. The story has been told a few times, but it never gets old because it's crazy. But during a time when The Undertaker needed a big win against someone who seemed to be a threat, WWE plucked Haid Vanson from developmental and said, "Alright son, here you go." Everyone agreed that Haid had the character chops to come across like he could at least intimidate the dead man for a one-off TV match, or at least that's according to former writer Freddie Prinze Jr. Vanson himself is adamant that a whole group was going to be put forward to vanquish the Phenom. Either way, it doesn't matter, because despite having videos of Haid calling him out, Vince McMahon then caught wind of this and he shut the whole thing down. I guess he was so mad about it, Vanson also got released, and ever since he's been doing a bit of acting and still lives in LA. In his own words, he'd been wrestling for 10 years and this felt like the end. So it was. Number 7, Flip Gordon. Flip Gordon had found his way in 2018. His character had connected with the fans, and his forever feud with Cody Rhodes was a highlight on many Being the Elite episodes. He acted like a fool, and people loved it. It's not like wrestling chewed him up and spat him out either, as he is still performing, but it felt like he would be part of the team about to be launched into the stratosphere, and then he just wasn't. A reason for this does seem to be tied to Flip being quite vocal about some very controversial conspiracy theories that turn fans off, but as ever, everyone is allowed their opinion, and we're also allowed to think somebody's opinion is madness. If you're super into the scene, you're probably aware, but for those riding that all-in wave, he really did just stop being part of it, and that was that. The friendship was done. Number 6, Austin Aries. A similar tale, although one that featured on a larger scale. There is no denying that Austin Aries is a great wrestler, and back in 2012 could even have been in the conversation of being one of the best in the world. He was a flawless mechanic who could also sell the struggle, and most agreed he was underrated. This is why a decade on, it's a bit strange he's not doing much of anything, although once again it ties into some pretty full-on theories about the world. Aries also went full no-sell at Impact's Bound for Glory in 2018, and while we all thought that was a story at the time, in hindsight it seems like Austin didn't like the fact he was losing to Johnny Impact, so threw a tantrum and stormed off. Aries was also labeled as difficult to work with, which probably ties into the above, and he does seem to enjoy pushing buttons. The Wrestling Observer's Brian Alvarez once told a story where he saw Austin wrestle, found him after to say that was a great match, to which Aries replied, "Do you mean you think it was a great match? Because otherwise you're saying that you have the defining decision on the matter." I mean, come on dude, just lighten up. Number 5 is Blitzkrieg. You may not remember him now, but trust me. Back in 1999 WCW, Blitzkrieg grabbed the Cruiserweight division by the throat. The way he was going to do this was by being amazing and a little bit reckless, and he was so ahead of his time, it was stupid. The springboards, the 180-degree body switches, the dives, it was like he had seen 2022 and decided he would much prefer it if his matches were appreciated then. Blitz still needed to get some experience, but it was all there for him. When WCW closed down and he decided, you know what, I'd rather be a computer technician and then a nurse, so that's what he did. So you can't get mad at that because it is a worthwhile switch, but it may have been different today. This dude would have flown, figuratively and literally. Number 4, Mr. Kennedy. Who knew that saying your last name twice would hit such a chord with fans? That's what Kennedy did in the mid-2000s, and for whatever reason people loved it and decided, yep, That's our guy. Mostly he was alright with a microphone in his hand and could make an average feud feel like a big one, and it got to the point where WWE decided to make him the champion. He then got injured, lost his momentum and irked Randy Orton, so got fired. It really was absolutely crazy. TNA quickly hired him because the potential was still there, but much like a lot of these moves, it just never had the same magic. It felt like a retread, as that's how Total non-stop action booked, and once that had run out of steam, Kennedy was basically done. How on earth? Ken runs his own school today and seems happy, which is all that matters, but wrestling really did give him a kick up the ass. It can be a treacherous environment. Number 3, Ryback. Ah boy, everybody brace yourselves. Now I think we all liked Ryback back in the day. I know I did. He was a WWE guy through and through, and that's fine. Having potentially a 15+ year career at the biggest wrestling company in the world is pretty good. We all want to be the champion, but sometimes just making it deserves a pat on the back too. He was over for a good while there, as well as Feed Me More chanted through the arenas, to the point he remained undefeated for ages. Let's light a fire under this guy and see what we can do. Sadly, we accelerated this when John Cena got injured and CM Punk needed an opponent. And as soon as Ryback had been screwed over by Brad Maddox, the whole plan seemed to be scrapped. He eventually wound up in Rybacksel, the worst tag team name in history, and when he fell out with WWE over a new contract, that was it. Literally, he never went to any other promotion, and since 2016 has mostly been getting angry on Twitter. I can prove this too, because somebody once replied to a tweet I wrote saying it was about Ryback, so he blocked me. This would have been fine, but it had nothing to do with the big guy. Kinda sums it up. Number 2, Tessa Blanchard. If we go back to All In 2018, Tessa Blanchard was a standout. She got a big pop, marshaled her 4-way match and looked like a star. The idea she was the best female wrestler outside of the WWE's 4 Horsewomen seemed apt. Her talent amassed a fan base who demanded she got a big move, which likely would have happened before Tessa made herself basically unemployable. Not only is she reportedly hard to work with, Blanchard has numerous allegations held against her that she uses unacceptable language and has racially abused co-workers. I don't care if you're the new Ric Flair, you do not do that. Many a wrestler have also labeled her as a problem. It doesn't feel like this is going to change anytime soon. And the worst part is, I'm not sure Tessa herself even agrees. Number 1, Mason Ryan. Can you imagine Vince McMahon's face when he saw Mason Ryan? He likely died. It was as if all his dreams had come true. He genuinely does look like a superhero. And was it really a problem he wasn't the greatest wrestler ever? I don't think so. Plenty of people have made it without that component, as silly as it sounds. After he was selected as a UK Gladiator back in 2008, he naturally found his way into sports entertainment. And from there, he just zoomed to the top. Because of course he did. Ryan was debuted as part of CM Punk's Nexus, so that was a big deal. And from there, everything just stalled. It felt like the company wasn't really getting behind him like they could, and that combined with his limited in-ring skills meant we were at an impasse. You need the mega push to overcome any shortcomings. I'm still amazed he was let go, but he was, and while he did dabble on the indies for a while, he soon headed to Cirque du Soleil, where he has been smashing it ever since. So good for that dude. He made it. Know of any other wrestlers who just vanished off the face of the earth? Make sure you let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Then head over to whatculture.com where you can read yourself some articles. Please do make sure you follow us on social media, WhatCulture, WWE, and Simon316. We do have a lot of videos. Why don't you watch one? My name is Simon for What Culture. Thank you very much for tuning in as always. You take care of yourself, and I'll see you soon.